you're super passionate, but you're not serving other people. And again, it leans right back into my quote. I quote all this. This is probably one of my top keynotes I speak all over the country, is be a leader. Great leaders want something for people, not from people. You know, when you do that and you literally have a heart to serve and help people.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Thrive with Sharon. And this is season 3. I am so grateful that we are continuing on this journey. And as I have mentioned, I love the engagement and the feedback from everybody so far who is in this community. And what I am hearing from you is what you want to hear more of. And some of the things that have touched you the most are how people are showing up in the world and who they are behind the kind of professional success that they've had. And I have one of the most interesting human beings today on the show who
Interesting. I'm like, I'm not sure if that's good or not.
Well, just because there is just such richness to your experience. And I just think it's going to be a great conversation. So everybody, this is Joslin, and who I have had the pleasure of getting to know these past couple of weeks, I would say this month. And it's been such a joy. It's really been a treat. Yeah. Ken is out there and he is helping leaders. He has been doing this for a long time. And I want you to share a little bit about that part of your journey. But basically, you know, one of the things that you're really good at is helping leaders to build confidence and to gain some clarity in how they want to show up in the world and to build community around that. And you do that really well. And I've seen evidence of that just even in the time that we've, you know, had more frequent, contact and communication. And not only that, but you're a powerful speaker. You are a great stage presence, and you speak into the hearts of so many people. And you also are running some great masterminds. You're a great mastermind facilitator and program facilitator, and you're also a published author. So I'm really honored and grateful that you're here today, and that we're in each other's lives for sure. But I would love to welcome you, first of all. And I want to hear a little bit more about what is exciting you in your professional career right now, because I know you got a lot of great things going on.
Yeah, well, that's an amazing introduction. Thank you. You make me sound a whole lot better than I actually am, but I appreciate that. That's what bios do, don't they? They make us sound like we're just the most amazing things in the most amazing people on the planet. I'm just in a season right now in my life, and you know, we've spent some time together. I actually had a trip to New Jersey to spend some time with some other friends and got to spend some time with you. I'm just in a season right now in my life where I'm blown away at how good God is and the relationships that he's bringing in my life. The quality of people that he's bringing in. And I tell people all the time, it's literally like my mantra of get in rooms with people who think bigger than you do. And people I don't care what area you're stuck in your life. I just had you on my podcast, and I told people, listen, if you're stuck emotionally or stuck relationally, like, you need to connect with Sharon. You need what she has. And I say this all the time. You literally are one relationship away from a breakthrough in your life. And it can be it can be, so our core 5 inside of what we do inside of GSD, our faith. I spent half the last 25 years in full-time ministry, pastoring and planting churches, which is why the community component, confidence, clarity, and community component is so important. Those relationships really are the number one thing. Faith, health. I've lost over 80 pounds in 2.5 years.
Congratulations.
It's been an unbelievable, thank you. It's been an unbelievable journey. I've got this fat 13-year-old kid that keeps trying to jump out of me every day. Wants to eat everything in the house. And I go, no, dude, that's not what we're going to do anymore. I say, I run things over here. Faith, health, relationships, business, and finances. Like, those are our core 5. And, I'm in awe right now of all the things we have going on, how God's blessing, how God's breathing on it. And I literally just met you from Amberly. Like, Amberly is a dear friend of mine. She's a part of my mastermind. And she's like, you got to meet my friend Sharon. And I'm like, okay. And we hopped on a Zoom call, and I was supposed to pitch you a mastermind. How we talked for an hour. We didn't even talk about a mastermind. We talked about life. We talked about what you're doing and talked about what I have going on. And this is so off. This is so off of what we're talking about right now. But I was just on a call with a young influencer girl that I met last week in San Diego. She scheduled some time with me, and I told her this. Like, if you'll add value and take care of people and be a leader that wants something for people, not from people, I'm telling you, you'll have more revenue than you know what to do with. It's not about another sales call. It's not about getting Sharon on a Zoom call and trying to pitch her a $6,000 one time or 40,000. It's about, hey, I just want to be interested in you as a human being. I want to hear what's going on in your life. And then you begin to develop relationships. And I don't know who that's for out there today. You might be like, what is this dude talking about? But it's just not it's just not all about a sale. It's not all about your revenue goal for the end of the month. It's like, how can I show up? And I'm going to steal your language. How can I show up and hold space for people? And this is my language. Be a leader that wants something for people, not from people. Like, I don't want anything from you. I want something for you. I literally believe that God's put me in the lives of some very amazing human beings to help them become the best version of themselves and help them accomplish all the things that God's put in their heart, which leans into my favorite Zig Ziglar quote: if I help enough people get what they want, eventually I'm going to get what I want.
Right. And I think in that journey, you're also going to just discover that sometimes what you want turns out to be very different than really what you needed in those moments, right?
Are you kidding me? The fulfillment component, I talk about it all the time. I mean, my mastermind, in Scottsdale, we had 5 8-figure earners, a couple dozen 7-figure earners. I mean, these are the people at the top of the food chain when it comes to business owners, guys that own their own jets. I've got a billionaire coming to my next mastermind in Scottsdale, which I shared with you. I just spent 3 days with him in Whitefish, Montana.
Yeah.
So when you're spending time with guys like this, and the reason Vic and I connected the level we did when I was in Montana was because he's a dude I talk about ROM over ROI. So return on mission versus return on investment. Like, it's about, God, I've got this one life to be able to make an impact and help people become the best version of themselves. And I understand now that if I do that, the ROI is going to come.
Yeah.
But the reason Vic and I connected was because we're both mission oriented guys. It's about fulfillment. It's about when I lay my head down on my pillow at nighttime. Vic's like my twin. He's even bald headed too.
I couldn't believe it.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? Like, he's even bald headed too. I tell people all the time, Vic is my twin. He just got more money in the bank than I do. But it doesn't matter how many zeros, how many commas you have in your bank account at the end of the day. When you lay your head down on the pillow at the end of the day, you can go, dude, I helped people become the best version of themselves. I help people like you do get unstuck. I help people deal with tragedy and trauma that they had. And now they're stepping into, it's almost like you're watching this flower bloom, and they're becoming who God intended and who he created. So the ripple effect they have in their life is unbelievable. When you look at that and you go, and I had a piece to play in that. When you lay your head down on the pillow at nighttime, I have goosebumps. Look at that. Like, literally, there's absolutely nothing like it. I don't care how much money. I don't care what car you drive. If you've got a plane, I don't care what watch you have. There's nothing like laying your head down in the night at the end of the day at nighttime with the high level of fulfillment when you go to sleep.
It's being empty, but also being fulfilled at the same time. It's like you lay it all out there. You give what you have to give. You obviously don't do it to the point where you're negative in the negative, but you serve, and there's fulfillment in that. I also want to say that it's important, I think, to point out that, we can be very passionate. I know you're passionate. I'm passionate, right? Like, but
just a little,
just a smidge. But the thing that makes it, to me, the thing that's most important that I think we need to discern and create differentiation around is the fact that, there's a lot of passionate people out there that are doing a lot of harm. because I think that a lot of times we talk about like, we have to flame the passion, we have to find something we love doing, and we have to be passionate about it. But if passion doesn't have an arrow that where there's direction that's grounded by meaning and purpose work, it's exhausting, and it creates a bottomless pit of unfulfillment, of dis-ease, right? So I love the fact that you've grounded yourself in purpose work, and you naturally have this passion, and the passion is going to just help to elevate that, right, to another level. So what would you say? Tell me what you would say to someone who maybe isn't at that higher tier, right?
Yeah.
But because like there are a lot of people who I have two different kind of camps, right? Like I have one where they're super high performers, 6, 7, 8, blah, plus earners, and very successful in what they do, and are creatives, right? As we've talked about, they're creatives, but they actually are creatives where they actually create action that create their success. But then we also have the people, and I was one of these individuals too, right? Where it was like, I knew that I had this great, great mission, right? I had something that was real, all of us do. But I just kept getting stuck. Life circumstances really kept me down, or I wasn't really able to find the right audience, or whatever it might be. Had kids and we chose to not, follow our purpose work. What would you say to that individual, whether they're 8, 18, 24, 65, 80? What do you think?
Yeah, I would say in answering that question, and also tying into, you talked about passion. There's a lot of people who are passionate that do harm.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter's 26. My youngest is 14, even though she's 5'10" and now taller than all of her sisters. And every time she walks in next to one of her sisters, she always, goes back to back so she can tell them that I'm 14 and I'm now taller than you are. Since Holly, my oldest, was 26 years old, and it's also one of my most proud dad moments. Ever since she was in kindergarten, I used to take her to school, and I would say, I taught them from a very, very young age. She's 26 now, so 21 years ago. I'm old. I dropped her off at school, and I'd say, Holly, what do servant leaders do? And she said, Daddy, servant leaders do 3 things. They put other people's needs before their own. They do things right the first time, and they do things without being asked. You're right, baby. So when I pick you up today, at the end of the day, you're going to give me an example of how you were a servant leader today. So every time I've dropped them off, that was our routine in car rider line. Every time I picked him up, Daddy, little Johnny came in from the playground. It was hot. I let him go in front of me in the water line today. Dad, I took Miss Lambert's trash out today. She didn't even ask me. Like they would give me examples of how to do that. My daughter moves to Birmingham. She comes to college. She's in a leadership academy for people that want to do ministry. And she comes to college and she gets a job at Chick-fil-A. It's a brand new Chick-fil-A, just opened up. I mean, literally within months, she just kept getting promoted. She became the front end, like, kitchen manager at breakfast time, I think is what it was. She sends me a picture one day. She sends me a picture. I still have it on my phone. This has probably been 4 or 5 years ago. She sends me a picture on my phone, and it's the, where they slide the little aluminum stainless steel area where they slide like the chicken nuggets now. Because listen, I don't care if you're a person of faith or not, but when you go to heaven, they'll have Chick-fil-A, like chicken nuggets, cookies, all the stuff, the chocolate, the what's the cookie Oreo cookies and cream milkshake. Now I'm down 82 pounds. So I haven't had one in a long time, but those things are like legendary. So like where they slide all the food down, written in a Sharpie marker, are 3 characteristics of a servant leader. She sent that picture to me and she said, Dad, she goes, you're never going to believe what happened. She goes, the owner operator, he owns 2 stores in Birmingham, came into the store and said, Holly, talk to me. How do you get your team to do what they do for you? And you just get promoted. She goes, it's really easy. Since kindergarten, my dad taught me the 3 things that servant leaders do. And they're the 3 things for servant leaders to do. Put other people's needs before your own. Do things right the first time. Do things without being asked. There they were in this Chick-fil-A, and they're still there today. and they're still there. So I would say, if you're super passionate, but you're not serving other people. And again, it leans right back into my quote. I quote all this. This is probably one of my top keynotes I speak all over the country is be a leader. Great leaders want something for people, not from people. When
Mm,
you do that and you literally have a heart to serve and help people, man, people, they can tell. Like they
mhm.
absolutely, it's funny. I was a student pastor for a long time. And then I was a lead pastor for a long time, planted a church, grew at 700 people. I tell them all the time, I could speak on a Sunday. I could fool a room of adults. I had several hundred teenagers in my youth ministry. I grew it from 5 to several hundred, like 300 to 400 to sometimes 450, 500 on a Wednesday night in my building. And I would tell them, how do you do that? It's because I love kids. I love God and I love teenagers. You can't fool a teenager. Like a teenager will sniff you out in 2 seconds. If you're not authentic, they will sniff you out in 2 seconds. They will turn you off. This guy doesn't care about me. And
Mhm,
and
mhm,
like that's how God hardwired us. And if you're
mm,
authentic and you really do put other people's needs before their own, do things right the first time, do things without being asked, and you want something for people, not from people, man, and you couple that with passion, there's absolutely nothing you can't accomplish with your life.
mm, mm. Yeah. I think it's interesting too, because I'm of course, looking at it from different perspectives. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's helpful sometimes to really think about the fact that, when we really truly give and we're giving from a giving heart in a place, we're 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 doing something that sometimes doesn't always make sense,
That's right.
but we do it anyhow. We don't question. We just,
Especially in the world we live in now.
yeah.
Like when you do something like that, people are like, when I was on the phone with Vic 2 weeks ago, and we a 15-minute calendar appointment turned into an hour and a half phone call. And he goes,
Mhm.
Ken, what can I do for you? I said, dude, I don't need anything from you, Vic. No, man. What can I do for this guy's got
Mm.
this guy has the power. He sold 11 companies to Warren Buffett for $8 billion. He's
Mhm.
got the power to write a check, change my whole life. I said, dude, I don't need anything from you. I
Yeah.
said, he goes, dude, I want to help. What can I do? I said, you know what you can do, Vic? Come to my mastermind in Scottsdale. I'm not taking any of your money. Just come. Hang out with the people that I have in that mastermind because
Mhm.
I know what his next step is in, in
Mhm.
in in his personal and business life. I know what he wants to do. That's what our hour and a half call was about. I said, there's people that can help you do what you want to do at a level
Mhm.
because they've been doing it. They deal with
Mhm.
people like
Mhm.
Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi and Brendan Bouchard. They work with those level of guys.
Yeah.
Just come hang out. How much I owe you? You don't owe me anything. I don't want anything from you. When you
Right.
when you do that for people, they're like, well, this is different. This
Mhm.
guy doesn't want something from me. And
Mhm.
when you do that, I'm telling you, it opens the door for God to do so much greater things in that
Mm.
relationship than he would if you were just a taker.
Mhm. Yeah. So what I'm hearing also is the fact that um you have to be open to receive,
Yes, most
right?
definitely. Most definitely.
So in order to really be able to provide, and we have to, it's the universal law of exchange,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the first thing, you don't say, I know what Ken needs. Ken, I'm going to give this to Ken, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I want to create change in his life from your lens, from your
Mm-hmm.
human lens, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. You say, I don't know how I can help you, even though you might have an inkling of how you might help somebody, right? But you don't really know. You can just say, I know that I want to give from my heart and I'm a vessel, I'm an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Ken, how can I support you right
Yeah.
now? Just now, anything. No big, it's nothing too big, too small. How can I
Mm-hmm.
support you? Right. That is a much different conversation. And I think it's important because a lot of times people go out and they do and they give, and that creates that kind of codependency, that enmeshment, right? Of all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden now we feel responsible for
Right.
creating the
I
change
owe
in
you
somebody's
something.
life.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then it's that whole like, I do this, then and we do things not for the sheer service and
Right.
servant
Right.
mindset. It's more of like, I I want to do this because I have a need I'm trying to fill. Right. And so it's really important to understand the different energetic exchange, because it's a patterning, and
Yeah.
it goes from transactional to a flow, an organic flow of energy that God has designed for us to
Mhm.
rise and raise up to, right? And so I love the fact that Vic, who, yeah, of course, like, we're human, so there's always something that we're working
Mhm.
on, we're working
Mhm.
towards, and especially somebody the likes of Vic, I think he's amazing. Um, that, like, one of the amazing things about him is the fact that he's always open to grow and evolve, and that when you join with someone, and when he joins with someone, it's not to dominate or control or any of those things. It's actually for his own personal evolution, because the more we can share space with somebody else, the more we have the opportunity to be able to grow and learn more about ourselves, right?
Yes. Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. So I just love that. I I love that perspective, but I also am looking at it from that clinical perspective and that trauma lens. So I also want to make sure that we're not like
Right.
serve, serve,
Yeah.
serve.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's not even serving because you have a, you feel guilty if you don't.
mm,
It's, you know what? I just want to be an amazing human being. When I meet people
mm,
that I care for and God causes my path to cross paths with other people,
yeah.
dude, I'm here. I tell people all the time. Let's say my phone rings, and guess who just texted me? You're my friend Amberly Lago.
Ah,
She literally just texted me. But if your phone rings, let's say it's Amberly, or let's say it's you, or let's say it's Randy Garn, let's say it's one of my guys like Brent Gove or
right.
Gary Brecka, dude, I want to answer the phone. I'm like, I can't wait to answer the phone. Like, I'm stoked to answer the phone. But everybody, every single one of us that are listening to this podcast today, you've got people on your phone that when they call you, look at you, go, ugh, click, face down on my desk. Like, it's you serve and you give, not out of a a guilt or out of an obligation. You serve and you give because that's really who God called and created us to be. Is
Mm,
and again, we're going after, not going after, but we understand that the end result in that is going to be, man, you know what? I get to live with an unbelievable level of fulfillment. I'll tell you a quick story. 2 years ago, when I started my health journey, I walked into Waffle House, 11:30 at night, played basketball with all my guys. Just started my health journey. I may have been down 10 or 15 pounds. I was down to 82 now. So this was like right at 2 years ago. I walk in the Waffle House. I go to eat. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I had scrambled eggs and bacon because it's keto. And there's nobody in the restaurant. And if you've never eaten a Waffle House, you're from New Jersey, you need to, because it's the greatest thing in the world. It smells like grease and bacon. It's just it's a little hole in the wall diner, and they're everywhere in the South, right? And so I sit down, and this guy walks in about 11:30 with three kids, and he brings them to the one waitress that was there, and he leaves, and I get done with my check, and I tipped her, like, it was like $8 or $9. I gave her a $20 bill, and I got ready to leave, and I'm at the cash register, and I said, "Was that your husband?" And she goes, "No, my husband died last month, and all he left me was these three kids." And I'm
mm,
sitting there, and God said, and I had my wallet, I had $240 on me. It was all 20s. And God said, "Give her what you have." And so I took it out, and I put them on the 20s on the counter, and I just kind of fanned them out. It was in August of 2 years ago, so a little bit over 2 years ago that it happened, because it was a week before school started. And I said, "Hey, listen, God sent me in here on purpose, not just to eat, but He just wanted you to know that He loves you and that He has a plan for you." And I said, he told me to give you this. And I said that $240 across the table, and she just broke.
mm,
And she was like, "Can I hug you?" And I said, "Yeah, if I can pray for you." So she got her boys that were in three different places in the restaurant, got them over there and told them what happened. And when we talk about being a servant leader or wanting something for people, not from people, if I'm not blessed financially, I can't do that. Like, I have to, like,
mm,
obviously I'm going to make money, but I can't have stories like that. And I could tell you story after story after story after
mm,
story like that that's happened in my life, where I've been obedient and God
mhm,
said, give, and I gave, but
mhm.
I couldn't do that unless I did the things I need to do to be able to generate revenue, which we do. We'll be a multi-7-figure company this year.
Yeah,
So anyway,
congratulations.
just to kind of bring some balance into that whole
Yeah.
conversation.
Well, there's no shame in success.
No, not at all.
Right. And I think that it's, we all have to get comfortable with it. We all have to get comfortable talking about it. So I'm grateful to have this space for us to be able to really talk about, yeah, I experienced these things,
Mhm.
and I also have made my way to success, right? And success looks different to everybody, but I mean, the abundance is here, and whether that abundance comes forward through a monetary piece of, the actual physical money, or abundance comes through like
Yeah.
your ability to be able to show up differently in the world, or in a way that's more aligned with who you are,
Yeah.
and have that simplicity that you've always needed, right? Or whatever it is, right? So abundance could just be the fact that, you've always dreamt of having a vertically integrated farm where you could serve the community, and somebody blessed you with a home
That's
and
exactly right.
a plot of land. And
Yeah.
we talked about this in our conversation earlier, where it was just like, you never lose sight of the lesson and the opportunity for you to
Right.
be able to grow. And so it's all about how the stories that we tell ourselves in the process of
Mhm.
the universal exchange
Mhm.
of abundance, right?
Yeah. Most definitely.
So yeah. Um, all right, Ken. So those are all the great things that you're doing out in the world. But we're gonna open it up a little bit and tell me, because I love your podcast. Your podcast is
Mhm.
great. And one of the things that I said to you, I texted you, I was just like, Ken, like, your sharing is great. Like, we need more men, especially,
Mhm.
to share from this place. So, are you comfortable talking about? I mean, you talk about your weight loss journey and your health journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
More about.
When we talking about my therapy journey, the fact that I have two therapists, I don't have one, I have two. So Medea is one of my therapists. Actually, her name is Maxine. She's a little, I tease her all the time. She's about a 55, 56-year-old black lady. She's hilarious. She don't put up no shit. She's funny. So I call her Medea.
Well, you
She's
need
one.
that.
Oh, she's amazing. I'm going to see her Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And then I've got my good friend, Dr. Rob Kelly, who's a top NLP doctor out of San Antonio. I meet with Dr. Rob once a week or once every other week. Yeah. So just in this journey for me into the 27-year marriage, about 7 or 8 months ago, separated for 2.5 years, the most difficult personal period in my life. At the same time, my business is skyrocketing,
Mm,
which is insane. You're talking about two completely different dichotomies.
mm-hmm.
It couldn't be any different.
Yeah.
And so just walking through that. And am I going down the right road? You were asking me. Is this what we
Yeah.
want to talk about? Perfect.
Yes.
And obviously Sharon knows my story. I went to Maxine. This has been probably 6 months ago, and she was asking me about my journey. She was like, "Tell me about you. Tell me about Ken growing up." And I said, "Well, easier. Born in Detroit. Parents, I was raised in Pontiac, 8 years old. Mom gets a divorce and moves us to Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. Second grade, from sixth grade to my senior year of high school, I moved 6 different times back to my dad's in Michigan. I went to 12 schools in 12 years. I went to 6 different high schools.
Mm,
And she looks at me and she goes, "Why did you want to move so many times?" And I said, "Well, I didn't have a choice. If I
mm,
ever got in trouble, my mom would say, go pack a bag." And I had about 1 to 2 days before I was on a bus, plane, or my dad was on the way to pick me up. And she wrote in her journal for just a second. And she looked up at me and she goes, "Ken, how do you think this has had an effect on your relationship with the women in your life who are supposed to love and protect you?" And it was like, oh my God. Like, it's funny because I looked, I went immediately. I'm sitting on that sofa in her office. And I went back to a relationship that I was in even at the time, to a girl that I dated that lived on the other side of the country. Flew into San Francisco. I flew in. We didn't even make it out of San Francisco before we had an argument. And here I was hopping out of the car with my suitcase, and I hadn't even made it to her house yet. Like, literally, I'm going, oh my gosh, this is the 13-year-old version of me. The woman in my life gets mad. I pack a suitcase and I'm out. And I didn't even realize that's what was going on in my life until she said that. And then I'm mad because I'm like, why did I have to wait to be 53 years old to figure this out? So, but what that did was it was a catalyst to start me in that journey of becoming the best version of me. What
mm,
do I need to do to become the best version of me? So, obviously, in business, and even in business, as good as it's been, but how can I become the best version of me for all the people that are in my life and
Mm.
for a potential partner that God has for me?
Mhm.
Because what I learned real quick in the last year to year and a half is you're going to attract exactly who you are.
Mm.
And that's exactly what I had done. I had attracted and been okay with having who I was, and without knowing the different things that were in my life.
Yeah, I want to turn that around.
Okay.
Can
You
I
can, because I saw you roll your eyes. You're like, nope. And I'm like, okay.
And we're at this point where I can speak a little bit of wisdom here. I want to take that shame away. Because what we're saying is that because of who I am, that means that bad things happen to me. And I don't want people to think that, because it's not true.
Right.
And you know what? I was just having this conversation earlier with somebody else. You are dynamic. You've had beautiful, legacy of success. You have blessed so many people's lives. You have 3 beautiful children. And you also had some experiences that shape the lens that you view the world, right? So you have always attracted so many people. You just talked about 600 beautiful, adolescents who you help to hold court with, right? And cultivate relationship with, and show them how to cultivate healthy relationships. And so yes, when it comes to that intimate partner piece, it usually tends to reflect and magnify the greatest conflict within us. And conflict basically means that there's a lack of connection between how we're seeing things and how our truth is, right? So our body, it holds the soul holds the truth, right? We stay stuck in our heads, and that's usually what drives us to take action, right? So we attract so many people. You attracted so many people. I'm sure there were more than one, potential partners for you, right? At that time when you chose and said yes to that woman, right? But what happens is, because of the lack of repair from what you experienced, it shaped the lens of how you saw it, and you didn't see that this was your relationships were continuing to re-traumatize you, right? And so that person was just another person who was that vibrational match to what you thought was healthy, but it was really just your normal. But the beautiful thing is as we heal, and I know you're on this beautiful growth and healing journey. I'm on a growth and healing journey, and I won't ever not be. That, it just gets better and better, and we see things faster and more clearly.
Yes.
And then instead of it being a lack of free will or having to react to something, then it actually becomes something where we can be conscious and we can be neutral too.
Yeah, I love that. And that's again, that was a catalyst, that one meeting when she said that one thing to me. How do you think this has affected the relationships with the women in your life?
Which is so powerful.
Oh my gosh, it blew me away. I mean, I tell people there have been 2 times in my life where I've had the biggest aha moments. One is when I made a commitment to be a Christ follower in August of 93. The other one was that moment. It was like, oh my God. And and we've talked about this personally, I'm like, dude, why did I have to wait till I was 53 to get this? Like, how come you couldn't have downloaded this on me 15 years ago or 20 years ago? Because I'm constantly learning. Like, every day I get up. I mean, in my planner, I've got a 1% better thing in the planner I created. Like, how can I get better today? How can I become the best version of me? And I think it's why it's so important for people like you and your audience that are listening to you. Jillian Taricki, we talked about Jillian earlier. She's going to be on my podcast. She's a big therapist. Like, I follow more therapists than I do, people in my space now, probably more than anybody. It's crazy. Because I'm like, yes, that's so good. Yes, that's so good. Where has this been my whole life? But I think it's why it's so important for those of you guys listening to this podcast to not only lean into what Sharon's talking about and the guests, but share with people. I when I read a good one, when I read something good, which I did just a while ago, it goes on my IG story, or I'll send it to a friend that I'm thinking about, just to be able to help them process through what's going on in their life. But I love what you said about the vibration. What it was a vibrational match, not I'm bad, so I deserve X. It's
Right.
This is where I'm at. This is the vibration I'm putting out. And this is the vibration I'm going to attract. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said
Yep.
it. You said it much more eloquently than I did.
I know. I'm sorry. I forgot, like, cookie shelf. What is it?
Cookies on the bottom shelf,
Cookies
baby.
on the bottom
Yep,
shelf.
that's it. No,
I
we put
have to,
cookies on the bottom
and
shelf.
that is my greatest challenge. I'll tell you. I mean, so since like we're being totally authentic, like my greatest challenge is the delivery of things that is so like profound and make it as simple as possible. Like that cookies on the bottom shelf thing is definitely, it's part of my own personal evolution, and the growth that I am working through and the healing that I am working through, to, be authentic and have it be my voice, but also, have it be able to connect with people who are it's meant to connect to. So, Ken, one of the things, and we're nearing the end of our time for now, but one of the things that I just appreciate so much about you is the fact that you are so open, and that you are so transparent with all of these things. And I'm curious, do you know how impactful that is for leaders?
Yeah. I tell you what's crazy is, I talked about being a student pastor, having several hundred kids in my youth ministry, then being a senior pastor and telling people on Sunday, like, listen, I could, or friends, different pastor friends of mine are speakers. I can fool a auditorium, several hundred adults. You can't fool teenagers. They will sniff out somebody who's not authentic in a split second.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at an event last year, one of my events, and my good friend Gary Brecka, who's one of the top biohackers in the world, and is partners with Grant Cardone and 10X Health Systems now, and he's doing an unbelievable work. Also part of my mastermind. I heard him talk about authenticity, and he quoted a study where the frequencies that we emit as human beings, and the highest frequency we emit is the frequency of authenticity. Authenticity happens when you have a great understanding in a subject mixed with a belief or a great passion in a subject. So that's where authenticity comes from: an understanding, a great knowing of a subject, and a high belief and passion in that subject. That's where authenticity comes from. And then he said this. He said, and the most sought after frequency as from human beings like us is the frequency of authenticity. So when you get around somebody that's real, it's like when I mentioned Vic earlier, we connected. I'm like, he literally called his wife and goes, dude, this is my new best friend. Like, we are the same. It's crazy. I talked to you that weekend. It's crazy how similar we were. I was like, oh my gosh, because both of us are just authentic versions of who God created us to be. We love God. We love people. We really are guys who live in service. And when you get around people, it's why you can meet somebody or have a friend or a really close. I've got my best friend since I was 7 years old. I talked to Chris. I haven't talked to him in a month, but when I talk to Chris, it's just like we were 15 again. Like, it doesn't, there is such an authenticity in our relationship that causes us to be able to connect at the highest level and the highest frequency.
I love that. I love your description of authenticity. I think that's really great. And that makes a lot of sense. And I hope that it becomes less scary for some people, because I think sometimes it's really, in a world where we're really encouraged to wear masks in some level, like it's really, really such a radical act to really show up as all of you. And authenticity is the key. I think authenticity is actually even greater than harmony.
Well, in the world we live in today, you're like in the Instagram, social media world, you don't ever know what's real. It's like there's so much stuff out there, and everybody's trying to play that I'm this or I'm that. Or when I think I shared this with you. When my divorce got final, I was at my really good friend's house in Calabasas, in just right outside of LA, and I was on the phone with him and another one of my top 5 guys, and they were like, dude, go buy your car, go get you something. And I'm like, what's wrong with my Honda Civic Sport? And I'm like, it's brand new, I just bought it. They're like, no, Ken, go do something for you. I'm like, okay. So I took their advice. I went and bought a Range Rover. But I didn't care. Like I don't care
Mhm.
what I drive.
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, it's a Honda Civic Sport. Go buy yourself a night. I'm like, okay. Um, but it's having those authentic relationships and being
Hmm.
just a genuine human being. Cause I mean, today, man, you never know where people really are at. And
Hmm.
I think the more you can show up every single day, unapologetically you,
Yeah.
and walking your truth. Again, I'm gonna steal your line. Hold space for other people with
Mm.
really an authentic heart that really is a heart of a servant leader. And I tell you, you can live a really, really amazing life if you do that.
Oh, it's so true. And I remember we were talking and I was just like, I don't know, Ken, I'm like this kind of real different,
You're definitely really different. There's no doubt about that. You are right on that.
very unique. And I was like, I don't know if yeah. And you were just like, I would just want you, like, it's even better that I know you would just show up and be you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like, that to me was so memorable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in a world where we have imposter syndrome and FOMO and all of this stuff, right? Creating even the slightest little space for someone to feel like it's okay for them to show up and just be themselves and know that that's
Mm-hmm.
like exactly what we need.
Mm-hmm.
Like we
Mm-hmm.
need that is such a blessing. So I just want to say this has been such a
Yeah.
great conversation. It's been wonderful spending all this time with you and just hearing about your heart, hearing about your journey and all of the beautiful and amazing things that you're doing out in the world. I know you have coming up in November, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
your mastermind?
Yeah, mastermind in Scottsdale in November, and
Mm.
it's November the 1st through the 4th. It's my favorite time. I literally I have a scoreboard in the bottom of my planner every day. It's 1 through 10. I've given myself 3 10s this year because I'm probably my own toughest critic. One was after my Create conference in January. One was after the Sunday after or the Saturday after my mastermind, the first mastermind we did in the Atlanta area, and the other one was after my mastermind in Sundance that we did in Utah back at the 1st of August.
Mhm.
It is my it is my favorite. It's my favorite thing to do is gathering with 4 or 5 dozen high level business owners and CEOs and really leaning into those core five: faith, health, relationships, business, and finances, and helping them build amazing relationships. It
Mhm.
is it is the most it is one of the most beautiful things in the world when one of the whoever's in our mastermind, they get 15 minutes on the hot seat and they're talking about their business, they're talking about their core five, and then what's the biggest decision, what's the number one decision I could make right now that has the greatest impact in my business, where am I stuck, and what's
Mhm.
the number one relationship I need. And when you've got those three questions and you're sitting there for 15 minutes and you've got 45 to 55 of the top business owners in the world sitting in front of you,
Yeah.
ooh, you talk about synergy, and that gets goosebumps again. I've never had goosebumps on podcasts. I've had it twice with you. It's one of the most unbelievable things when you sit there and you watch it. I'm like, dude, I get to do this for a living. Are you
Yeah, I
kidding me?
know.
Like
I
it is
know.
unbelievable. Yeah. So it's fun. Yeah. So we got that going on in November, and then January, our Create conference in Atlanta, number one entrepreneur conference in the Southeast. Good friends like John Maxwell. John will be back again this year. Ed Milet, Randy Gone, my good friend Amberly Lago. It's just we got about 15 to 20 of the best entrepreneurs, speakers, authors. It's going to be an insane weekend. Live band. I've got my buddy brings his band in. They're all the musicians are out of Nashville. They all tour. They do cover tunes from Prince to to Luke Combs to Bob Seger to you name it. We're doing it is fun. It is fun. It is full of energy and it is full of amazing human beings.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. It's such a wonderful gift that you have to pull people together and just to pour into them that way and to inspire them. And the way that you do it is very much uniquely you. So I hope people will check that out for sure. And of course, also your podcast,
Mm-hmm.
which I've really enjoyed listening to. And I like the guests that you have. I like the topics that you
Thank
talk
you.
about. So they can follow you there as well and subscribe to your podcast. And it's As the Leader Grows, correct?
As the Leader Grows. Yep.
Um,
Instagram is
and
the easiest way to
Instagram.
connect.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Your name, Ken Joslin. That's it,
Ken
right?
Joslin. Super easy.
Yeah.
Not though. There's about 18 fake accounts out there right now, but it's just Ken Joslin. Oh, it's insane. It's insane.
Me
I get like
too.
one a day.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yes, the same. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, you've made it big, right? When you have fake accounts on Instagram,
I'm like, okay,
that's our measure of success.
Right.
Well, it's just been such a joy. And I just love that you were here today and pouring into all of our community. And I hope you'll come back again.
Most definitely.
And everybody, please, I'll put all of Ken's contact information in the show notes. But definitely make sure that you subscribe and you definitely comment, send Ken a message. He is definitely very responsive, especially on Instagram or probably through your website as well. I'll make sure that I include all of that. And in the meanwhile, I want everybody to have peace, love, and work on that authenticity. It's been such a wonderful day today. Thank you.